When the CEO of one of the world's largest AI companies brought his most advanced robot to the Vatican, he expected to humiliate Pope Leo XIV and prove his technology could replace dozens of employees. But when the first American Pope approached the machine, what happened next not only silenced the arrogant executive, but revealed a lesson about human dignity that is shaking the very future of artificial intelligence. But before we dive into this story, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. Pope Leo XIV kneels alone in silent prayer in the Pauline Chapel. The morning light streams through ancient stained glass, bathing the room in amber and crimson hues that dance across his simple white cassock. His fingers gently move over the beads of a worn rosary, a gift from a poor family in Lima when he was still a young missionary. 5 months after his historic election as the first American pope, his humble presence stands in dramatic contrast to the opulence surrounding him. Michelangelo's frescoes telling stories of centuries past above his bowed head. A man of humble service surrounded by centuries of power and tradition. In his mind echo the words he had spoken the previous week about the challenges of artificial intelligence, comparing it to the Industrial Revolution that his predecessor and namesake Leo XIII had faced with his encyclical Rerum Novarum. The value of human work, he had said, cannot be reduced to mere calculations of efficiency. Your Holiness, a Vatican assistant interrupts with a nervous bow, the sound of his footsteps breaking the sacred silence of the environment. The Pope raises his gaze, his expression serene yet attentive. Maxwell Thorne has requested an urgent audience. He's already on his way to Rome. The Pope's eyes widen slightly, the first sign of surprise on his normally composed face. Without prior diplomatic arrangements? Yes, Holiness. The assistant, Monsignor Gianelli, nervously wrings his hands. He wishes to personally present a proposal that, according to him, will revolutionize Vatican operations. He hesitates, as if carefully choosing his next words. Something involving his new AI robots. He's bringing one for demonstration. The Pope rises slowly, his right knee silently protesting, a reminder of decades walking the Peruvian hills. His gentle demeanor hardens into quiet determination, the transformation subtle but unmistakable. The light now illuminates his angular face, highlighting the lines of concern on his forehead. Make the necessary preparations, Gianelli. The assistant turns to leave, but stops when the Pope adds, with an unexpected steel in his normally gentle voice, "When Mr. Thorne arrives, there will be specific protocols I insist on following." The authority in his words fills the chapel, amplified by the perfect acoustics of the space. "Is there something particular I should prepare, Holiness?" Gianelli asks, concern evident on his face. "The world will see this as just another business meeting. The press is already speculating about—" "This is about much more than business, Gianelli," the Pope interrupts, his voice carrying a surprising authority that makes the Monsignor instinctively straighten his posture. "It's about the very essence of what it means to be human in the age of algorithms. Mr. Thorne will learn that today." "Your Holiness, if I may," Gianelli nervously intervenes, beads of sweat forming on his forehead. "Mr. Thorne is known for his assertiveness. He has transformed entire industries with his robots. If there is tension between you, the media will certainly—" "There are principles that must be respected," says the Pope calmly, turning back to the altar, the light from the stained glass creating a momentary halo around his white figure. "Even by technology billionaires, some traditions, some truths about our humanity are not negotiable." Meanwhile, aboard his private jet soaring over the Mediterranean, Maxwell Thorne reviews data on his tablet with the confident posture of a man accustomed to commanding every room. At 48, Thorne had built tech divinity from a garage startup to a trillion-dollar AI powerhouse. His sleek, minimalist attire, a black turtleneck and designer glasses, has become as iconic as his company's robots. "The documents on the Vatican you requested," his assistant Caroline says, passing him a folder. Her efficiency had made her irreplaceable, even as Thorne replaced thousands of workers with his machines. 4,822 employees total, spread across various departments, most in administrative functions, maintenance, or visitor services. Thorne flips through the documents, nodding, and the annual cost, approximately 350 million euros. A subtle smile forms on his lips. "And they still ask for donations for charity work." He closes the folder. "Is Atom 9 ready?" Caroline nods. Yes, in the cargo hold. All systems verified, the Vatican test parameters are loaded. Wonderful. Thorne looks out the window at the blue sky. There's a certain poetic irony in this, Caroline. The center of Christianity being the first to embrace a creation that many consider a threat to humanity itself. The Pope agreed to the demonstration, not the implementation. Caroline cautiously reminds him, once he sees what Adam 9 can do. Thorne lets the sentence hang in the air. Even faith eventually has to bow to efficiency. The Vatican employs nearly 5,000 people to run a state smaller than most shopping malls. That's not sustainable in today's world. The sleek robot rests in the cargo hold, its polished metallic white surface gleaming under the soft cabin lights. Unlike earlier models with their obvious mechanical appearance, Adam 9 looks almost human, its movements fluid, its facial expressions nearly indistinguishable from a person. 7 years of intensive development have produced what Thorne considers his masterpiece, a perfect blend of efficiency and human mimicry. International news channels are already on alert. Breaking, Maxwell Thorne of Tech Divinity making unprecedented move, heading to Vatican with his controversial AI robot. Vatican sources call this completely outside diplomatic protocol. Inside the Vatican, chaos erupts. Cardinal Dominguez, the Secretary of State, storms furiously down a corridor, his red cassock billowing. Impossible. This man cannot simply demand an audience as if ordering room service. The Pope's secretary stands firm. His Holiness has already agreed. Why would he agree to this breach of centuries of tradition? Perhaps His Holiness sees what others don't. The secretary replies with a knowing look. In the papal study, Cardinal Dominguez shows Pope Leo media headlines predicting confrontation. Clash of titans, spiritual leader and tech giant set to collide. He warns, your backgrounds couldn't be more different. You lived among the poorest in Peru while he built technology empires. The Pope's eyes flash with unexpected intensity. We are both Americans who understand true power. That is common ground enough. But Thorne has publicly defied protocols with other world leaders. I'm counting on it, the Pope interrupts, a strategic smile playing at his lips. I don't understand. You will, Pope Leo says, his voice carrying absolute certainty. Today, Mr. Thorne will learn something about true leadership that no algorithm could teach him. The limousine carrying Maxwell Thorne glides through the streets of Rome, its tinted windows reflecting the ancient architecture of the Eternal City. Inside, Thorne makes final adjustments to his presentation, swiping through holographic projections displaying the Vatican's financial data. The press is already gathering at St. Peter's Square, Caroline informs him, looking up from her device. CNN, BBC, Fox, they're all there. Thorne nods without looking up. Perfect. The larger the audience, the better. You should know that the Pope has changed the meeting location, Caroline adds. Not the Apostolic Palace as expected, but the staff cafeteria. This catches Thorne's attention. The cafeteria? That's unusual. Also, he's requested that representatives from the Vatican Employees Union be present. A flicker of annoyance crosses Thorne's face before dissolving into a calculated smile. Interesting move. He's trying to throw me off balance. He adjusts his tie. It won't work. In fact, it plays perfectly into our demonstration. Adam 9 can handle a change in venue without any reprogramming, unlike humans. Inside the Vatican, preparations are underway in the modest cafeteria where hundreds of Vatican employees take their daily meals. Simple wooden tables and chairs are being rearranged. Workers in maintenance uniforms and administrative staff in formal attire watch with curiosity and concern. His Holiness wants them here? Whispers a Swiss guard to a Vatican official, nodding toward a group of custodial staff invited to stay. Those are his explicit instructions, the official confirms. He wants representatives from every department present, from the highest cardinal to the newest janitor. Cardinal Dominguez supervises the arrangements, his expression betraying his unease. This is unprecedented. Technology demonstrations are usually conducted in the technical offices, not here. His Holiness believes the setting matters, replies Monsignor Ginelli. He mentions something about context and dignity. In the adjoining room, Pope Leo XIV prepares himself spiritually, his hands clasped in prayer. Archbishop Rivera, his longtime friend from Peru, stands nearby. Are you certain about this approach, Holiness? Thorne is not a man accustomed to being challenged. The Pope opens his eyes, a calm resolve evident in them. Thomas, do you remember that village in the Andes? The mining company wanted to replace all the workers with automated machines. I do. The village would have died. And what did we do? Archbishop Rivera smiles slightly. We didn't protest or condemn. We invited the CEO to dinner with the families who would be affected. The Pope nods. Sometimes to reach someone blinded by progress, you must show them the human face of efficiency. He stands adjusting his simple white zucchetto. Maxwell Thorne sees the world through algorithms and profit margins. Today, I will try to help him see something more. Outside in St. Peter's Square, the international media swarms as Thorne's motorcade approaches the Vatican gates. Cameras flash and reporters speculate about the unprecedented meeting between the spiritual leader of 1.2 billion Catholics and the man whose AI technology has disrupted industries worldwide. What we're witnessing today, a CNN correspondent reports, could be a defining moment in the relationship between religion and technology. Two powerful forces, two very different visions of humanity's future, about to meet face to face. The large wooden doors of the Vatican cafeteria swing open. Maxwell Thorne enters first, his confident stride barely concealing his surprise at the setting. Behind him walks Adam 9, the robot's movements so fluid and natural that several observers gasp. The machine stands 6 feet tall, its sleek white exterior punctuated by subtle blue illumination at its joints. Its face, though clearly synthetic, displays remarkably human expressions, currently set to a pleasant, approachable smile. The room falls silent. Gathered around the perimeter are Vatican employees from every level: maintenance workers, administrative staff, Swiss guards, and several high-ranking cardinals. At the far end, Pope Leo XIV sits at a simple wooden table, his white cassock bright against the modest surroundings. Mr. Thorne, the Pope says warmly, rising to greet his visitor. Welcome to the Vatican. Thorne approaches, extending his hand. Your Holiness, thank you for agreeing to this somewhat unorthodox meeting. They shake hands briefly. The Pope's eyes move to the robot standing patiently behind Thorne. And this must be your creation. Adam 9, Thorne confirms, gesturing the machine forward. The most advanced humanoid AI system ever developed. Adam, please introduce yourself to His Holiness. The robot steps forward with perfect grace. When it speaks, its voice is rich and warm, with just the slightest digital undertone. Good morning, Your Holiness. I am Adam 9, a 9th-generation autonomous assistance unit. It is an honor to meet you. I have studied all of your public addresses, particularly your recent comments on artificial intelligence and human dignity. Several people in the room shift uncomfortably at the robot's eerily natural speech patterns. Pope Leo, however, maintains his serene expression. Please, Mr. Thorne, tell us why you've brought Adam 9 to the Vatican today, the Pope says, gesturing to the seats across from him. Thorne takes his seat confidently. Your Holiness, I've been following your concerns about AI with great interest. You've compared our current technological revolution to the industrial revolution that Pope Leo XIII faced. But I believe you're missing the tremendous potential for good. He activates a small projector from his pocket, displaying holographic charts in the air between them. The Vatican city-state employs nearly 5,000 people to maintain and operate a territory of just 49 hectares. That's approximately 1 employee for every 100 square meters. The numbers hover in the air, rotating slowly. My proposal is simple. Adam 9 units could replace approximately 35% of your current workforce, handling everything from cleaning and maintenance to administrative tasks and even tour guide duties. This would reduce your operating costs by 42%, freeing up significant resources for charitable works worldwide. A murmur runs through the watching employees. The Pope remains silent, listening intently. Let me demonstrate, Thorne continues. Adam, please perform Capability Assessment Alpha. The robot springs into action. It moves to a nearby table with a stack of documents, begins organizing them with incredible speed, while simultaneously answering complex questions Thorne throws at it about Vatican history, Catholic doctrine, and multiple languages. As you can see, Thorne explains as the robot works, Adam 9 can perform the tasks of 3 specialized employees simultaneously. It never tires, never requires breaks, never gets sick, and never makes mistakes. The robot completes its document sorting and turns to a coffee station in the corner. With perfect precision, it prepares espresso for everyone in the room, remembering individual preferences it had observed earlier. Most importantly, Thorne continues, as Atom 9 serves coffee, each unit continuously learns and improves. The more they work, the more efficient they become. As the demonstration concludes, the robot returns to stand beside Thorne. There's an uncomfortable silence in the room. Furthermore, Thorne adds, his voice taking on a more passionate tone, this isn't about replacing humans. It's about elevating them. Your custodial staff could be retrained for more meaningful roles. Your administrative employees freed from mundane paperwork to focus on spiritual matters. Isn't that aligned with your mission to elevate the human spirit above mere labor? The Pope takes a sip of the perfectly prepared espresso before setting it down carefully. His expression reveals nothing as he studies first the robot, then Thorne himself. An impressive demonstration, Mr. Thorne, he says finally. Truly remarkable technology. Thorne smiles, sensing victory. Thank you, Your Holiness. I believe this partnership could be revolutionary for the Church's mission worldwide. Before I respond, the Pope says, rising slowly from his seat, I'd like to approach your creation, if I may. Thorne nods, confident. Of course. Atom 9 is perfectly safe. Every eye in the room follows Pope Leo XIV as he walks around the table and approaches the gleaming white robot. The room falls into complete silence as Pope Leo XIV stands before the robot. Atom 9 maintains its pleasant expression, head tilted slightly in a programmed gesture of attentiveness. For 3 long seconds, the Pope simply observes the machine, his weathered face unreadable. May I? The Pope asks, gesturing toward Atom 9's hand. Of course, Thorne replies, intrigued by the request. The Pope gently takes the robot's hand in his own. The contrast is striking, the pontiff's aged, warm hand against the smooth, temperature-controlled synthetic skin of the machine. The cameras click frantically, capturing this unprecedented moment of man meeting machine. Remarkable, the Pope murmurs. The texture is almost indistinguishable from human skin. The latest in synthetic tactile interfaces, Thorne explains proudly. It can register pressure, temperature, even the slightest tremor. Pope Leo nods thoughtfully. Atom, he addresses the robot directly, what do you feel right now? The robot responds without hesitation. I am registering the pressure and warmth of your hand, Your Holiness. My sensors detect a pulse rate of 72 beats per minute and a slight tremor consistent with a man of your age. No, the Pope says gently. I asked what you feel, not what you detect. There's a momentary pause, just long enough to be noticeable before Atom 9 responds. I understand. You are inquiring about emotional response. While I don't experience emotions as humans do, I am programmed to recognize and simulate appropriate emotional responses. In this context, I would express feeling honored by this interaction. The Pope smiles softly. Thank you for your honesty, Atom. He releases the robot's hand and turns to face the assembled crowd, his expression now serious. Mr. Thorne, your creation is truly a marvel of human ingenuity, the culmination of centuries of scientific advancement. His voice carries throughout the room without being raised. But before we discuss your proposal further, I'd like to introduce you to some people. Thorne's confident smile falters slightly. This wasn't in the script he had envisioned. Pope Leo gestures to an elderly man in a simple maintenance uniform. This is Giuseppe. He has cleaned the floors of the Vatican museums for 43 years. The man bows his head respectfully. 3 generations of his family have served in the Vatican. His grandfather helped hide Jewish families here during World War II. The Pope moves to a middle-aged woman in an administrative outfit. This is Maria. She manages our archives. When researchers come seeking ancient texts, Maria doesn't just retrieve documents, she knows their stories. She has helped countless scholars find connections between texts they didn't know existed. One by one, the Pope introduces various employees, gardeners, security personnel, administrative workers, sharing not just their roles, but glimpses of their lives, their families, their decades of service. Thorne shifts uncomfortably. Your Holiness, I appreciate this personal touch, but my time is valuable, the Pope finishes for him. Yes, time is indeed valuable, Mr. Thorne. These people have given their time, their lives, to this institution. Not just their labor, but their hearts. His voice remains gentle, but there's an unmistakable firmness beneath it. They are not simply functions to be optimized. A tense silence fills the room. Thorn's expression hardens slightly. With respect, Your Holiness, sentiment doesn't change economic reality. The Church faces financial challenges. My proposal would allow you to redirect millions to your charitable missions. At what cost? The Pope asks simply. Progress always has costs, Thorn counters. The printing press put scribes out of work. The automobile replaced horse-drawn carriages. Would you have stopped those innovations? Pope Leo shakes his head. Innovation itself is not the issue. The Church has embraced technology for centuries. But there is a fundamental question we must ask. Does technology serve humanity, or does humanity serve technology? He turns again to Adam 9. Adam, what is your purpose? My purpose is to optimize efficiency, reduce costs, and improve operational outcomes, the robot responds promptly. And if achieving those outcomes meant replacing every person in this room, would you do it? If the data supported that as the optimal solution, yes. That would be the logical conclusion. A murmur runs through the crowd. The Pope nods thoughtfully, then does something unexpected. He reaches into his pocket and removes a small, worn wooden cross. This was given to me by a dying woman in a village outside Lima, he says, holding it up. She had nothing of material value, but she carved this herself. Her final act was creating something beautiful to give away. He extends it toward Adam 9. Would you hold this for me, please? The robot takes the cross carefully. A perfect mechanical action. What do you see when you look at this object? The Pope asks. I detect a wooden cruciform artifact, approximately 6 centimeters in length, hand-carved from what appears to be olive wood, showing signs of wear consistent with regular handling. Estimated market value, negligible. The Pope turns to Thorn, his eyes penetrating. And there, Mr. Thorn, lies the heart of our disagreement. Your machine sees a wooden object of no value, but within this simple cross lies a story of faith, of human connection, of meaning that cannot be quantified or optimized. For the first time, Maxwell Thorn looks genuinely unsettled. Thorn recovers quickly, his confident demeanor returning. With respect, Your Holiness, sentiment makes for good speeches, but poor management. The Church has always been a practical institution beneath its spiritual veneer. He gestures around the room. These people's jobs are already being replaced worldwide. I'm offering you a controlled transition rather than the chaos other organizations have faced. A controlled elimination of human dignity, the Pope counters, his voice remaining calm, packaged as progress. Thorn's expression hardens. Is it more dignified to perform repetitive tasks that a machine could do better? Is it more humane to waste human potential on sweeping floors or filing papers? He leans forward. Throughout history, the Church has resisted technological change only to eventually embrace it. Gutenberg's press was once considered a threat to religious authority. A common misunderstanding, Pope Leo responds. The Church's concern has never been with technology itself, but with how it is implemented and who bears the cost of that implementation. He takes a seat, gesturing for Thorn to do the same. Tell me, Mr. Thorn, in your vision of the future, what happens to Giuseppe and Maria and the others when your robots replace them? They would receive severance packages, Thorn answers smoothly, and we offer retraining programs for those with aptitude for more technical roles. And those without such aptitude? The elderly, those who've spent decades mastering skills now deemed obsolete. Evolution has always had winners and losers, Thorn replies, his tone matter of fact. That's the reality of progress. An elderly woman in a clerical worker's uniform speaks up unexpectedly from the sidelines. I'm not a loser in evolution, Mr. Thorn. I'm a person. Thorn turns, surprised by the interruption. I didn't mean. You did, she continues quietly. I've worked in the Vatican archives for 32 years. I know every document, every request pattern. Could your machine learn that? Perhaps. But would it care about preserving these treasures for future generations? Would it feel the weight of history in its hands? Before Thorn can respond, a maintenance worker steps forward. My job isn't just cleaning, sir. I'm often the first person visitors meet. I give directions, help lost children, sometimes just offer a kind word to someone overwhelmed by the Vatican's grandeur. Can your robot understand when someone needs more than information? Thorn's expression tightens. These are emotional arguments, not economic ones. And therein lies our fundamental disagreement, the Pope interjects. You see economics and emotions as separate spheres. The Church sees them as inseparable aspects of human existence. He turns to Adam 9, still standing perfectly still, holding the wooden cross. Your creation is remarkable, Mr. Thorne, but what it cannot do is care. It cannot feel the weight of history or the joy of meaningful service. It cannot be part of a community. Thorne stands abruptly, pacing with growing agitation. This is exactly the kind of thinking that keeps institutions like the Church trapped in the past. Sentimentality over efficiency, tradition over innovation. He points at Adam 9. This machine doesn't need rest. It doesn't make mistakes. It doesn't demand benefits or retirement. It simply serves. Isn't service at the heart of your teaching? Service freely given from the heart, not programmed obedience, the Pope replies. There is a profound difference. Thorne's frustration becomes more visible. Your Holiness, let me be direct. The world is changing faster than your Church can adapt. AI isn't just coming, it's here. You can embrace it on your terms now or be forced to accept it on others' terms later. The Pope rises slowly, his expression thoughtful. Mr. Thorne, do you know why I chose the name Leo upon my election? The sudden change in direction momentarily confuses Thorne. After Pope Leo XIII, I assume, the social justice pope. Precisely. In 1891, Pope Leo XIII wrote Rerum Novarum during another technological revolution that was displacing workers and concentrating wealth in the hands of a few. He didn't condemn the technology of industrialization. Instead, he questioned an economic system that treated human beings as mere factors of production. The Pope's voice grows stronger. His words still resonate today. Let it be taken for granted that workmen and employer should be free to agree about wages. Nevertheless, there is a dictate of natural justice more imperious and ancient than any bargain between man and man. A murmur of approval runs through the employees gathered around the room. Thorne's expression hardens. With all due respect, Your Holiness, quoting a 19th century pope, doesn't address 21st century economic realities. Doesn't it? Pope Leo challenges. The technology has changed, but the fundamental question remains the same. Does our economy exist to serve human flourishing, or do humans exist to serve economic growth? Thorne shakes his head dismissively. These philosophical debates are a luxury the market doesn't afford. Institutions that don't adapt simply fade away. Is that what you think we fear? Fading away? The Pope smiles gently. Mr. Thorne, the Church has witnessed the rise and fall of empires. We've survived persecutions, wars, and revolutions. We will still be here long after today's technology is obsolete. Then why resist progress? Thorne demands, his composure slipping further. If you're so confident in your institution's permanence, why not embrace AI? Because we serve people, not markets, the Pope answers simply. And people need more than efficiency. They need meaning, community, and dignity. He approaches Thorne directly. Let me ask you something. How many workers has tech divinity replaced with machines like Adam 9? Thorne hesitates briefly. Our technology has optimized approximately 2.7 million positions globally. Optimized. A careful word choice. The Pope nods. And what happened to those 2.7 million people? That's not my company's responsibility, Thorne replies defensively. Creative destruction has always been part of economic progress. New jobs emerge to replace the old. Have they? For everyone? The Pope's gaze is penetrating. Or have we created a world where a fortunate few prosper while millions struggle to find meaningful work? The room falls silent as the two men face each other. The spiritual leader and the tech mogul representing two profoundly different visions of humanity's future. The tension in the room is palpable. Maxwell Thorne's confident facade has begun to crack, revealing flashes of genuine anger. You're using emotional manipulation instead of addressing the economic reality, he says, his voice tight. These people's jobs will be automated eventually. If not by my company, then by someone else's. I'm offering a controlled transition with dignity. Pope Leo XIV nods thoughtfully. Let's talk about dignity then. He walks back to Adam 9, who still stands perfectly still, holding the wooden cross. Adam, may I have the cross back? Of course, Your Holiness. The robot extends its hand with mechanical precision. As the Pope takes the cross, he asks, Adam, what would you say is the value of human work? The robot processes for a moment. Human work can be evaluated through multiple metrics: economic output, efficiency ratios, quality control standards. Thank you, the Pope interrupts gently. He turns to Thorn. Your creation speaks of metrics and ratios, but work is more than output. It's a fundamental expression of our humanity. He gestures around the room. These people don't just perform tasks. They participate in something larger than themselves. They belong. Belonging is a luxury the modern economy can't always afford, Thorn counters. The Pope's expression becomes somber. Mr. Thorn, may I ask you a personal question? Thorn hesitates, then nods cautiously. When was the last time you felt you truly belonged somewhere? Not as a CEO or innovator, but simply as a person. The question hangs in the air. For the first time, Thorn seems genuinely caught off guard. The silence stretches uncomfortably. I don't see how that's relevant, he finally responds, his voice slightly less certain. Indulge an old man's curiosity, the Pope says gently. Thorn looks away, his expression hardening again. I don't have time for philosophical discussions about belonging. I came here with a practical proposal. Very well, the Pope nods, seeming to accept the deflection. Then let me make a counter-proposal. He turns to address everyone in the room. Mr. Thorn's technology is indeed remarkable. The question isn't whether we should use such tools, but how we should use them and who should benefit. He moves to the center of the room. I propose a different experiment. Instead of replacing our workers, what if we use this technology to augment their capabilities, to free them from the most repetitive aspects of their work so they can focus on the human elements that no machine can replicate? Thorn frowns. That's not economically optimal. You'd still be paying full salaries for partial labor. Or we'd be investing in fuller humanity, the Pope counters. Giuseppe wouldn't just clean floors. He could share the history he's witnessed with visitors. Maria wouldn't just file documents. She could mentor young scholars in understanding context that no database contains. For the first time, uncertainty flickers across Thorn's face. That's not how AI implementation works in the real world. Perhaps that's the problem, the Pope suggests. We've allowed economic models to define the real world, rather than human needs. He turns to Adam 9. Adam, if you were to work alongside humans rather than replacing them, how would you approach the collaboration? The robot responds immediately. I would optimize my functions to complement human capabilities, focusing on tasks where precision and computational speed provide advantages, while deferring to human judgment on matters requiring emotional intelligence, ethical consideration, or cultural context. The Pope looks back at Thorn. Even your own creation recognizes there are aspects of work best left to humans. Thorn shakes his head. This is an academic exercise. The market is optimization, not philosophical balance. Does it? Does it? The Pope's voice takes on a challenging tone. Or do we tell ourselves that to justify choices that benefit some while harming others? He approaches Thorn directly. You've built an empire on efficiency, Mr. Thorn, but at what personal cost? Before Thorn can respond, the Pope continues. Your assistant mentioned you've been working 20-hour days for the past month preparing for your company's next product launch. When did you last see your children? Thorn's expression shifts from surprise to anger. You've been investigating me? I believe in being prepared for important meetings, the Pope replies calmly, just as you researched our operations before arriving. The tech CEO's composure falters visibly. My personal life is not relevant to this discussion, isn't it? You propose a world where efficiency is the highest value. I'm simply asking if you found fulfillment in that vision. The Pope's eyes reflect compassion rather than judgment. When your daughter Emily had her piano recital last month, your assistant attended in your place. When your son's science project won first prize, you sent a video message from a conference in Tokyo. Thorn's face pales. How did you? The Church has its resources, the Pope says gently. Not as sophisticated as your algorithms, perhaps, but effective in their way. For a moment, Thorn seems genuinely at a loss for words. The confident CEO is gone, replaced by a man confronted with uncomfortable truths. I provide for my family, he finally says, his voice quieter. They want for nothing, except perhaps their father's presence, the Pope suggests. You've optimized your life for maximum productivity, Mr. Thorn. Has it made you happier? More fulfilled? The room is utterly silent. Vatican employees watch with a mixture of sympathy and fascination as the powerful tech mogul struggles with the unexpected personal turn. Pope Leo steps back, giving Thorn space. I don't mean to embarrass you. I'm simply suggesting that the model of efficiency you champion may have hidden costs for you, for your family, for society. Thorne loosens his tie slightly, visibly uncomfortable. This isn't about me. On the contrary, the Pope replies, it's about all of us, about what kind of world we're creating. He gestures to Atom 9. Your robot is indeed a marvel, but it cannot love, it cannot feel joy in service or take pride in preserving tradition. It cannot form the bonds of community that give our lives meaning. The Pope walks to a window overlooking St. Peter's Square, where thousands of pilgrims gather daily. Look out there, Mr. Thorne. For centuries, people have come here seeking meaning, connection, transcendence. These are the deepest human needs, not efficiency, not optimization, but belonging and purpose. He turns back to Thorne. You offer us a world where machines do everything better than humans. I ask you, what then becomes of humanity? What will we contribute? How will we find meaning? Thorne stands silent, his usual rapid-fire responses absent. For perhaps the first time in years, the tech visionary seems to be truly listening rather than calculating his next argument. The Pope's voice softens. Your technology isn't the enemy, Mr. Thorne. It's how we choose to use it. Will we use it to elevate our humanity or diminish it? To strengthen our communities or atomize them further? He extends his hand, offering the small wooden cross to Thorne. This cross was carved by a woman who had nothing material to give but created beauty anyway. There was no economic rationale for her action, only love. Can your algorithms calculate the value of that? Slowly, almost reluctantly, Maxwell Thorne takes the cross, holding it awkwardly in his hand as though unsure what to do with it. What exactly are you proposing? He finally asks, his voice uncharacteristically subdued. Pope Leo XIV smiles gently. A partnership, Mr. Thorne, but one that serves humanity rather than markets. Let's explore how your remarkable technology can amplify human potential rather than replace it. He gestures to the employees around the room. These people don't need to be replaced. They need to be elevated, freed from drudgery to focus on the uniquely human aspects of their work, the care, the wisdom, the connection that no machine can provide. 3 months later, visitors to the Vatican notice something unusual. Sleek white robots handle baggage screening, document scanning, and basic information services. But alongside each machine stands a Vatican employee, not supervising, but complementing. Where the robots provide efficiency, the humans provide warmth, context, and wisdom. In a joint press conference, Pope Leo XIV and a visibly changed Maxwell Thorne announced the Dignitas Initiative, a new approach to AI implementation focused on augmenting human potential rather than replacing it. The first pilot programs are launching in hospitals, schools, and community centers worldwide. The true power of technology, Thorne tells reporters, the small wooden cross now visible as a pin on his lapel, isn't in replacing humanity, but in revealing what makes us irreplaceably human. Behind him, Atom 9 efficiently handles logistics, while Giuseppe, the elderly Vatican custodian, shares stories with wide-eyed children about the treasures he's cared for over decades, each serving humanity in their own essential way. And if you enjoyed the story, please share your thoughts in the comments below. God bless you, and God bless America.